Hey 7th graders, it's Mrs. Cervantes. I'm here to do 3.5 dividing rational numbers with you. Your I can statement is that you can divide fractions and decimals. If you look at your key terms, we put your rules there for you again. Most of you already know them. It says if you're doing quotients, if you're working with quotients, if you have I can't even see this one, it's blurry on here, but if you have a negative, a positive and a negative, it's a negative. If you have, remember, so let's write this on here because I can't read it on there because it's blurry. So same signs, your rules for dividing. Same signs, the answer is always positive. And different signs, it's always negative. Okay, so that's all that purple box does. It's showing you your rules for your signs, and you guys already know those. Don't get confused by the P's and Q's here. The P's and Q's are just variables. They're just holding spots of numbers, and it's just going over the rules that we went over in class before. So your first question says, over 5 months, Carlos wrote 5 checks for a total of $323.75 to pay for his cable TV service. His cable bill is the same amount each month. What was the change in Carlos's bank account each month to pay for cable? Okay, so if you're looking, so in this one we're working with decimals, 5 checks, and there was your total, and then it wants to know each month, so that tells you it's division. So if I write this out, it'd be $323.75 divided by 5. Now, typically you guys would have a calculator because algebra, when you get to algebra next year, you'd have a calculator on the exam, but this year you're not going to have one. So make sure you guys were all fine. I checked you. Miss Talati, I believe, checked her kids too. So 323.75 divided by 5. My biggest advice, I think, to you guys on this is to watch where your decimal placement is and keep everything lined up. It looked like you pretty much knew how to divide. It just was off if you were out of line. Okay? So 5 doesn't fit into 3. That's 0. Subtract. You guys could use the rule divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Someone said, does McDonald's serve burgers? Someone else that learned it really early in elementary was saying daddy, mommy, sister, brother. So however that helps you, these are the steps for the long division, but like I said, most of you don't need that. So you multiply, that was 0. Subtract, bring down your 2. 5 into 30, so divide, that goes 6 times. Multiply, 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, that's 2. Bring down your 3. 5 into 3 goes 4 times. See how I'm keeping everything lined up still? Multiply, 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, and that's 3. Bring down my 7. Oh, I probably should put that there right now so I don't forget. I probably should raise my decimal up right now. Okay? 5 into divide, 5 into 37. 5 times 7 is 35. Subtract. Same thing over and over again. Bring down your 5. 5 into 25 goes 5 times, and we're at 0. So we are finished. So this is a terminating decimal. So how much did he pay for cable each month? He paid $64.75 each month. Okay, so some of this is review for you guys, but it's good to practice it. You guys have been out of practice for a while. Okay? All right, looking at example A. Now we're going to talk about dividing fractions. Some of you may have learned this, some of you may not have learned this, okay? So when you're dividing fractions, the first thing you want to understand is that's a division problem. Whether it's written 7/10 over 1/5, negative 1/5, or it can be written 7/10 divided by negative 1/5. Either way, it means the same thing, okay? So let me give you guys some tricks here, which sometimes they don't like us to use tricks, but if it works for you, then it just becomes natural and you do it without even thinking of the trick. So when you're dividing fractions, you keep the first fraction, you change the division symbol to multiply, and then you flip. The word we use for flip, again, remember, is reciprocal. So you use the reciprocal. So dividing fractions is, oops, I spelled that wrong. Dividing fractions is the same as multiplying, I'm going to say multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, so dividing fractions is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Write that somewhere in your notes. Okay? So if that's the case, and dividing fractions is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, and I follow my rules here that say keep the first fraction, 7/10, change your division to multiplication, and in math the rule says if you change division to multiplication, you have to use the reciprocal of the next value. And reciprocal just means flip your fraction over, okay? It's negative, it still stays negative, but I flip it over and it's -5/1. It could be 5 over -1 also, remember that. It doesn't matter where the negative sign, there just can only be one of them, okay? And then what you're looking at is two fractions being multiplied, and you guys know your rules for multiplication.
The tutoring meeting will be held in.
You guys can cross-reduce. Sorry, hopefully you guys can still hear me. You can cross-reduce if you want to. Most of you, since this is Math 7-8, will do cross-reducing. 5 goes into -5, -1 time. 5 goes into 10 twice. Now multiply your fractions across. Let's do our numerators. 7 times -1 is -7. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we're left with, do you remember what kind of fraction that is? That's an improper fraction where your numerator is greater than your denominator. So we can change that to a mixed number. How many times does 2 fit into 7? 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6, so there's 1 left over out of 2 total, and it was negative, so my answer would be -3.5. If you write an answer of -7/2, that's not wrong. It's just not changed to a mixed number, okay? Make sure you write down those notes and the keep, flip, change, okay? Problem B says Maya wants to divide 3/4 pound box of trail mix into small bags. Each will hold 1/12 of a pound of trail mix. How many bags of trail mix can Maya fill? So I need to, if I want each bag to be 1/12, don't I have to divide my total amount of trail mix by my 1/12 bags, okay? So if you don't rewrite this and you're still saying the keep, change, flip, okay? If you do keep, change, flip, you keep your 3/4, you change it to multiply, and you flip 1/12 to the reciprocal 12/1. And then again, now you're just looking at multiplication of two fractions. You can cross-reduce, or you can do it at the end, doesn't matter. 3 times 3 is 9/1, and my answer would be 9, okay? So if I write this out, how many bags of trail mix can she make? She can make 9 bags of mix with 3/4 of a pound, okay? All right, you are going to finish your mixed practice. Really all we're practicing is the keep, flip, change in this section. Make sure that you're showing all of your work. And somewhere actually in your things remembered, let's write blue skies, so I know that you watched the video. In the things remembered, write blue skies. All right, you guys, have a good weekend. See you later.